Some design trends look like upgrades, but they're actually making your home feel cold, outdated, and in some cases, uninviting. Have you followed a trend that started to look, well, off? Well, in today's video, I'm going to walk you through the most common design choices that homeowners end up regretting, why they don't age well, along with how to fix them without doing a complete remodel. The problem with design trends is that they change fast, and what looked sharp 5 years ago could be turning buyers and even guests off today. Now, this video isn't about shaming your style. It's about creating timeless spaces that feel warm, inviting, while also being comfortable and livable. Now, the thing about these opinions is they aren't just mine. As a real estate agent, I deal with a lot of different buyers and hear a lot of their thoughts in these conversations. So this is feedback from real buyers, along with years of design regrets that I've actually seen firsthand. And one of the most popular ones that I'm seeing at the moment that a lot of people are going to end up regretting is this whole gray overload. As many of you know, gray was one of the most popular choices over the last couple of years. But what I'm seeing right now is a lot of homeowners go completely over the top with gray. Everything from floors to walls to cabinets. And while gray can be somewhat of a neutral color, too much of it seems cold and almost emotionless. Now, many of you probably won't remember, but the grays started sometime in 2012 to 2015. So they've basically been around for the last 10 years. And we're finally at that point when buyers are looking at property, they're trying to shift away from the grays. And that's one reason that the color white has become so popular again, because not only is it bright, it also helps the space feel more open. But here's the thing, you can go over the top with white as well. And what I mean by that is I see a lot of people going the complete opposite direction from everything gray to everything white, which in some cases can make your home feel like a doctor's office. So rather than go completely gray or completely white, what you need is balance. And you can add that warmth by adding some wood, some earth tones, and in many cases even soft textiles to help break up that color. Now, the next one I'm seeing a lot of, and I mean a lot of, is this whole generic quartz with the gray veining running through it. Because there have been a lot of homes updated over the last couple of years, a lot of homes flipped, even builders building new construction, every single property is starting to look the same. And what I mean by that is everybody's using the same cabinets, the same flooring, and ultimately the same countertop. So if you're someone who's considering upgrading your home, rather than go to Home Depot or buy some sort of prefab granite, what I would recommend is going to an actual slab yard, picking out a granite or a quartz or whatever type of material that you like, and have your countertops custom made from that material. That way it's not going to look like every single house on the market. And with that being said, as we discussed the whole gray overload thing earlier, the whole gray running through countertops at the moment is no longer custom. It's no longer unique. So what I would recommend is going something with some maybe warmer veining running through it, or something with a little softer pattern. But regardless of what you decide, try to stay away from the trend that you're seeing in every single house. Because while it might be popular at the moment, trust me, the trend is fading fast. Now, the next trend I see a lot of buyers having issues with is this whole super modern style of properties where it's very, very minimal on the interior and in some cases almost too polished. Well, in this case, it often makes it feel like a dentist's office and not a home, which coming from a real estate agent's perspective, when I'm showing a buyer a property, they want the property to feel warm. They want it to feel inviting. They want to be able to go in and see their family living there, where their kids are going to play, where they're going to entertain. So they're looking at the space. But oftentimes when the home is just too modern, it doesn't feel inviting. It doesn't feel warm. And honestly, buyers don't feel welcome there. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about looks really pretty in pictures. It shows really well in video. But quite frankly, it can be very frustrating in real life. And that upgrade I'm talking about is this whole open shelving in the kitchen where you have your plates nicely stacked and your glasses here. And then here on the other open shelving, maybe you have some other things from your kitchen. But the reality is most people don't live that cleanly. And on top of that, it gets dust, it gets clutter, it gets mismatched. And more importantly, you end up losing storage by doing this type of style. So my recommendation is to stick with cabinets. Yeah, you can have some open shelving in your kitchen or in spaces maybe adjacent to your kitchen area where you can do different design choices, but my recommendation is to stay away from it in the kitchen. Which leads me into talking about the whole open concept overload. Now, you can go one way or the other with this, but when our parents owned homes back in the day everything was compartmentalized, right? The rooms were very sectioned off, which sucked, quite frankly. And we've gone the completely opposite direction now, where everything is completely open. There are no walls, there is no space. And what I'm seeing post-pandemic is a lot of buyers out there at the moment now want some separation. They don't want it completely closed off like it was back in the day, but they also don't want it completely open either. And the reason for that is because when it's completely open, it can be very, very loud. It can be hard to get separation. Maybe if you have kids doing homework, somebody wants to watch the TV. Well, when you're all in the same room, it makes it very, very difficult to do. Now in the house that we sold back in 2023, we had opened all of the walls in between the living room and the kitchen and the dining area. So it made this really nice open space, which was great because it wasn't this huge area downstairs. So the openness made the area seem a lot bigger than it actually was. Well, in the house that we're in right now, there's two separate living rooms, and the kitchen is with one of the living rooms and the other living room is a little bit separate, which kind of gives us the best of both worlds, because if you want to be in the kitchen area, then you can use the living area off the kitchen and have that space for entertaining because it flows to the outside. And then if you want that separation, then you can go into the other living room, which also has access to the outside, but it has this balance between the two. Now, sometimes my wife says, hey, I wish we had this room a little bit more open. I wish it flowed a little bit better. Other times she says, hey, I'm really glad that wall's there because the kids are really, really loud. We want to watch TV. We don't want to be around them, so it creates that separation. So I think there's a balance between the two, but I think if you have a large downstairs area, completely opening it up is not the right idea, because in that case it's almost too open. But at the same time, if it's a small space, then opening it can actually end up creating flow and make it feel a lot larger. So before you do the whole open concept thing, maybe work with a designer, talk to a couple of people, look at what people in your neighborhood have done with your floor plan, along with talking to a real estate agent about what buyers are looking for in your area. Some buyers are still looking for this open concept, whereas other buyers want to stay away for the reasons that I've talked about. Now, there is a way to use sliding doors or sometimes rugs or even furniture to help define different spaces, but from a noise standpoint, it can be very, very difficult when everything is open. So my recommendation again is to just talk to somebody before doing the design to make sure that you're not going to end up having regrets later down the road. Now, something else I'm seeing a lot of, and it drives me absolutely crazy, is this whole style mismatch, mix things together, where an owner might have a farmhouse sink, but then they have a super modern light, and then they have this whole boho backsplash thing, which actually all of that stuff together creates confusion. And when you have design inconsistency, it makes the home feel unintentional, uninviting. And from a buyer's perspective, oftentimes that's things that they feel like they're going to have to replace or change out when they move in. So my recommendation is pick a style lane and try to stay in it. What you're really trying to accomplish here is this whole visual flow from room to room. Doesn't mean you can't mix different styles. What I'm saying is you don't really want to mix them all in the same area and try to tie all of these things together, because quite frankly, they usually don't go together. And that's one thing I'm seeing right now with this whole tile overkill, along with the whole busy patchwork tile in kitchens and bathrooms on floors. And what I'll tell you is this style seems cool. Some of it looks really, really awesome. But I'll also tell you, you're going to get tired of it really, really quick. Because not only can it be hard on the eyes, it's chaotic in many ways. And what we're seeing at the moment is people putting it on the walls, they're putting it on the floor, they're putting it on the ceiling, which makes areas feel really, really noisy. And what I'm telling you is this stuff is going to date really, really fast. So if you're someone doing a lot of this, you're going to end up having regrets. So my recommendation is to limit your tile, this patchwork stuff, to focal areas and not try to do entire walls or entire rooms in it. And with that said, you want to keep things clean and timeless so that when the style changes on time, it doesn't really impact your upgrades. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the whole wallpaper explosion, where people are doing it on every single wall. They're doing it on the ceilings and in bathrooms. And a lot of times they're using really dark colors or really bold wallpapers. And it can look good in some areas, but when it's everywhere, what I'm telling you is that it overwhelms the space. And at the same time, a little wallpaper can go a long way. You don't need it in every room. You don't need it on every wall. You more so want to use it for an accent than you do creating an entire space out of it. Now, the last one I want to talk about is moving outside to the exterior of the property, and that is people painting their roof tiles, not staining them. They're actually painting them. And in some cases, they're doing this to match the style of the property, right? They're going with this whole black and white style property where the property's white, the trim is black, and in some cases has an older tile roof on it where the tiles are orange or what have you. Well, what I see a lot of people doing is painting those tiles black. But what I'll tell you is that paint chips over time. So what you're going to have is a black tile roof with some chips of orange in it, which is going to end up looking awful over time. So if you're going to end up trying to paint your roof or do something to your roof, make sure you're doing it the right way. Make sure you're staining it. It can be stained where you're not going to have those same issues as paint. But even then, understand that that's a long-term change. If the trend changes and you've already stained your roof, that's going to be very, very difficult and very costly to replace. So my recommendation before moving forward with any of these upgrades is talk to a good agent in your area, somebody with experience, somebody that sells a lot of homes, sees a lot of design, talks to a lot of buyers so that they can relay what buyers are saying to them. Because at the end of the day, it can end up saving you thousands of dollars on upgrades that you could end up regretting. So with that said, don't rely on Instagram, don't rely on HGTV and try to do this on your own. Instead, rely on experience and market data so that you're getting the most bang for your buck. Now, if you found any value in today's video, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up. And if you want to stay updated on everything about how to get top dollar for your home when it comes to selling, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Now, I've often said in many videos that the quickest and easiest way to change the perception of a home is to change the flooring in that property. But at the same time, not all flooring is created equal. In fact, I did a video on flooring choices that you're likely to regret. So if you're somebody that plans on redoing your flooring, make sure you check out this video here first.